just kind of introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about who you are, and just a little bit about yourself, just to kind of get it started.
Okay, my name is Jen. I go by Treasures on TikTok because everybody doesn't like to say the full name. But I have had epilepsy for the past almost 40 years now. I was diagnosed at 11 months, and I have two kids, and one of my kids was diagnosed at the same exact age, and I've struggled with it and gone through everything that is possible. And I've tried getting off medications. I even tried CBD and everything like that. It just makes me feel really weird, and I can't afford with my children to be kind of out of it. So until my kids are older and can take care of themselves, I prefer to not be out of it and stick to my regular medication. I'd rather do, plant-based and not take my medication, which is thousands of dollars, but unfortunately, not driving, I can't drive on it. So unfortunately, I deal with what I have for now until my children are older.
Yeah.
But
You said your medication is. You said your medication is thousands of dollars. Which medication are you on? I'm just curious because mine is really expensive too.
500. I'm on 2,000 milligrams of Keppra. I take 2,000 milligrams, 1,000 twice a day. So 2,000 milligrams.
Wow.
No, 4,000. I think that's 4,000. Yeah, 4,000 milligrams twice. Total a day. So.
Okay.
I would rather, I'm a licensed esthetician. I kind of had to, which is kind of honestly with a blade. I do dermaplaning too. Thankfully, I can tell my auras because my line of work. I could slit somebody's throat if I had a seizure. But,
I mean, that'd be bad.
That would just be a little bad, just a little bad. So I have to go by my auras and my gut feeling, and obviously if I get that feeling, I have to reschedule my session. And I don't tell them that, honestly, because that would probably terrify somebody if someone was working on me doing a facial and I was worried they were going to slit my throat, The line of work that I do, I have to be self-employed because I was originally, when I first got my license, I was working with a spa, and I have to work around their schedule. And unfortunately, with my child, he was originally stable with his epilepsy, and as he's gotten older, we're kind of working on different medications, so he's been a little unstable with his seizures, and I'm constantly getting calls from school and everywhere when he has them. So it makes my line of work very, very difficult. So I also have an Etsy shop that is made just for like epilepsy products, as well as like a second backup. And then I live stream every now and then. So I literally have to have multiple sources of income because everything is so unpredictable when it comes to epilepsy, and unfortunately, unless you have a financially very supportive system, it's incredibly hard to take care of kids full time by yourself and keep a roof over your head and stay out of stress. That triggers it. So
I don't know if you saw. I don't know if you can see the comments where you're at right now, but someone commented and said, "Youper, he's a friend of mine." He said that was his old script, but Briviac has been way less side effects for him. So that's awesome.
What did you say? Repeat what you just said. My friend was making noises.
So someone commented and said that he's a friend of mine. And he's also got epilepsy, and he said he used to have the same script as you. He's got Briviac now, and it's got a lot less side effects.
Mm-hmm.
So, just interesting.
Gotcha. Awesome. Yeah, I'm very, for me, I can't mess with trying different things. So I'd like to try the plant-based, obviously, but when I'm not completely all there, which that is an effect of let's just call it plants, because I don't know how TikTok is with using those actual words. I'm just going to say the word plants. Plants. So I would rather just be on that full time and just deal with that. But
THC.
THC. Well, yeah, I don't even know if that's allowed. So I don't want to get.
It's just, I'm just saying letters.
I know, but I also
I know.
Al picks up everything. It is. I never know when Al's gonna pop in and pop up something, and all of a sudden I'm banned for like 24 hours for my live stream. I'm like, great, I can't go in anybody's battles. I can't do anything. So I just try to be on high alert with the things that I say, is because it is not technically legal in my state. So I would love to be off my medications because, there's very little side effects with Keppra, but it still maxes out. Like once your body gets to a point where it can't go any higher, there's no higher dosages unless you're popping them like Skittles. And then even at that, sometimes that doesn't work. So I would rather be off of medication that doesn't plateau. And I think with plants, you can actually get off it completely depending on the dosage that you take. And I don't think your body will become immune to it. I've never heard of somebody becoming immune to it with plant-based. But, I could be wrong. I've just heard that anybody that's taken it full time that's switched over to that has ever plateaued. But I can't really take that chance, unfortunately, with my children, because I am the only primary caregiver at this point. So I can't be playing guessing games to try to make, it easier on my body, easier on me and easier on my body.
So you said that you've had this since you were 11 months old, and then your son has it as well. At what point did he did his start, or did he have it? Was he diagnosed with it?
I think it was Ian when everything shut down in Florida. When we literally got on a lockdown and they were shutting down everything because of the hurricane. I think it was a Cat 5. And we flew out like 2 days before it was supposed to hit us, and we flew to New York. Due to the fact that my kids were so little, being out of power for a very long time would have been a really, really bad mix. So I went and stayed with family in New York. The rest of my family stayed in Florida, and me and my kids got flown in New York, and I stayed with my aunt. So once literally as soon as we got off the plane, I put my son in a stroller, and he started having grand mal. And we were in New York for about almost 2 weeks because they were out of power for 2 weeks. So we were almost there, and we were in the hospital. We were at different kinds of hospitals trying to be able to figure out, like, is it really epilepsy or is it just, maybe febrile seizures? Or because my daughter had that. She had a febrile seizure when she was younger, but she never got diagnosed with actual epilepsy. She just had a febrile seizure. So they were testing his brain and put EEGs all over to figure out if they gave him the medicine, a liquid medicine, would it control it? And as soon as they gave him the Keppra, it made a huge difference. So, like, at that point, obviously, they knew if it was controlled by that medication, then it was actual epilepsy. And...
So he's on Keppra as well, then?
He's on Keppra. He's only at 3 mg. He's 7.5.
Okay.
He'll eat next month. So, it was a very, very long process. So, I mean, it's scary to see your own children have to go through it.
It's terrifying to watch your child have a seizure. I've had two of my kids have had febrile seizures. It's terrifying.
It is the worst because
it's
you can't
horrible.
control it. There's nothing you can do about it, whether you're an adult or a child, whether you're witnessing it or you're experiencing it. There's literally nothing that anybody can do unless you're like turning blue and you literally have to shove something up your rectum to stop the seizures. There's literally nothing anybody can do. You just have to let it. And the sucky part is the kids have absolutely just like an adult, They have absolutely no memory of anything that's going on. They're completely exhausted. Like, it's just a heartbreaking to see anybody, let alone an adult, a child, to go through that with their little body. It's like, it's so scary.
Yeah, I mean, I've had, like I said, I've had two of my daughters have seizures, and I mean, holding them as they had a seizure, it wrecked me, and I would have gladly traded places with them and had 100 seizures for them to not have the one that they had, just because it killed, like it tore me up inside, holding their tiny bodies while they had a seizure. Like it killed me. But fortunately, they have had none since then. It was just like the one time febrile seizure and then nothing after that. So they no issues after that. So
you got very, 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 very lucky, because once he got diagnosed with it, my instant thought was, crap, now my daughter has to deal with not only her mother having seizures and protecting her mother as she gets older, because with epilepsy comes lack of, I already have dementia that runs in my family. So, so dementia on top of that, as well as just memory loss in general due to, an extended period of time of excessive seizures that I've had. So not only is my daughter going to have to go through it with me, thankfully I haven't had it in years, which I honestly can't afford to go through having any seizures. So even if it means I have to miss a couple of days of work and figure something else out, like I do, because I have to make sure to maintain my stress level so I do not go into one. And now my daughter has to deal with not just me going through it, but my son. And it scares the daylights out of me, having to know that my daughter has to worry about worrying about not just her mother, but her brother too.
So have you figured out, as far as triggers for you, have you figured out what it is that triggers the seizures? Is it stress for you?
For me, it's stress related, but I think for my son, as it's hormonal milestones, like as his body is growing, I think that there might be he might be exhausted, he might have overworked himself, like even if he's got a substantial amount of sleep. He's 7 years old. Kids are supposed to get about 10 hours of sleep a night at his age. So, as he gets older, I think that his growth spurts are what's a trigger for him. All of our hormones as we get older and get closer to puberty really make a huge difference. And they can start to trigger more seizures. For me, it's stress and lack of sleep and, light, which I've gotten a lot better with my light than I did when I was younger. But I can also feel it before it's going to come on, too. I get major auras, like major, major auras, to the point where I cannot, ignore them. And I also have a dog, too. So my dog will sit down and he will literally paw the shit out of me and lick me and jump all over me to the point where I have to be like, okay, I'll either pull over or I'm going to sit down. So he will not stop.
So is your dog, you say you have that dog, is that dog specifically trained for that, or is it something that he just kind of picked up on his own?
A combination. He was not trained, but he got basic obedience, but he also picked it up. I did not know that until he started going to basic training, and when I'd start to have little mini ones, and I'd be like, what's going on? Why is he acting like that? They're like, do you have medical issues or something like that? And I'm like, yeah, I have epilepsy. They're like, he's picking that up.
Yeah.
So I'd have little episodes, and he'd be all over me, and he'd be pawing at me to the point where when I sit down, he would be calm because he knew that I was prepared for it. So they kind of picked that up during his training and then just kind of enhanced it a little to kind of direct him what to do. So he was not initially trained for that, but his natural instincts to pick it up were enhanced.
It's amazing that dogs will do that. It's amazing that they can pick up on that on their own without training and then just be just kind
I
of
would
fine tune
never
that
have-
training.
But the funny thing is, I would never have even guessed that was like, had the trainer not said anything, I never would have thought that's what he was trying to indicate. I would have thought he just wanted attention.
It's more just training. It's more training the person to recognize what the dog is doing.
Exactly. And to be honest with you, if trainer had not been there, I never would have put two and two together.
Yep. I know you said yours started at 11 months old, so I'm guessing it was a genetic thing. Is there, do you have a family history of it? Or is it something that is somewhat random?
They said that I had it when I was born, and then as I grew, I just started to develop it, or just started to flare up, and then I've kept it the rest of my life. I don't know. Nobody in my family apparently has it, but then again, my grandfather died way before, like when my mother was 16, so like, I don't know if he had it at one point. My mom didn't know about it. Like, I don't really know about a lot of my mother's family for the most part. My uncles really weren't involved in my life for the most part.
Okay.
And my mom's dad passed away before I was even born. So, like, I don't really know a hell of a lot of my mom's family to even know. I don't even think my mother really knew, to be honest with you. If he did have it, I wasn't aware of it. Neither my parents have it, my sister has it. None of them have it. So I don't even know if it's hereditary or not.
Okay.
But I do know with my son, obviously my son has it because I have it, But,
Right. Yeah, so I mean, in that instance, you can say, hey, well, I essentially, it's most likely hereditary passed on to your son. I was just wondering, as far as for you, if it was or not, or if you knew. So.
Yeah.
As far as like, you say you still have auras and stuff. How well is your medication at this point controlling it?
I'm not sure if it's a combination of the way that my lifestyle is, because it's so well balanced, or the fact, like, some days I will literally just sleep all day through, not after a seizure, but literally because I know one day a week my body just needs to relax. Like, I'm completely either working, I'm taking tests, I'm doing stuff, because I'm getting my life insurance exam. I'm taking my life insurance exam soon as well. So I've been doing nothing but studying if I'm not working or taking care of my kids. So if I'm not taking care of my kids, taking care of the house, I'm studying or taking care of my dog and making sure my dog is properly taken care of and exercise too. I keep myself well balanced to the point where I'm not sure if it's just my medication or it's the fact that I know my triggers, so I do everything in my power to make sure to prevent that. Like, I don't forget any of my medications. I never go a day without forgetting my medication. But I keep my life pretty well balanced, and I stick to a pretty good keto diet, because that's supposed to reduce your chances of seizures as well, I've heard. So I'm not really sure if it's just my medication alone, or it's the fact that I know my triggers, so I avoid it and stick to a very, well-balanced keto diet that's supposed to address that and help that. I don't know exactly, because it's been 10 years since I've had one.
Okay.
So
that's awesome.
So what did Okay, I will stop.
And as far as your sons, how often is he having them?
He seems to have them more at school.
Okay.
But sometimes he will have them in the middle of the night as well. And he will not even realize it. But because it's at night, I can't really tell exactly when it starts, because he's sleeping anyways. Obviously, after they have a seizure, they're exhausted. So aside from the fact that sometimes he'll pee the bed, which he never does, and there's drool all over the place every now and then, there's really not very many signs, because he always, I have him laying in my bed with me. Like, he co-sleeps with me for that reason.
Okay.
So I don't let him go into his own room, and then if he has a seizure, he falls off the bed. And then I really won't know. So I can't be there if I'm not sure what's going on. Because if his door is closed and my door is closed, how am I going to know he's on the floor? I don't want him bashing his head open. And he's got sensory issues too, so like I can't put a monitor. Someone actually recommended putting them on the laces when they're at school, and it monitors them, and it alerts you and lets you know that a seizure is coming, which I don't understand how that works, because it's not actually on the scanner of the body to actually monitor and try to figure it out.
Interesting.
Versus like your skin. Yeah, like an Apple Watch. I don't know if she told me you can put it on your like shoes and stuff like that, but I don't get how that monitors if a seizure is gonna start. It doesn't make any sense to me. But he's got sensory issues, so he can't wear like an Apple Watch or a watch that has one of those sensors that goes on your skin. To be able, because there's plenty of apps out there that let you know in advance a seizure's oncoming. Like yesterday, I don't think you were in the room, but actually, I'm not sure if it was you that popped in the room or not. But Sammy, the girl, I think did you come in and see Sammy? Sammy Epplet? So there was another room with me, Richie, and Sammy. And all of a sudden, her eyes started just wandering around, and she went quiet, and everybody's like, dude, she's going to have a seizure. And, like, within minutes, she's in the hospital. Like, she's been in the hospital the entire time, but her eyes on the back of her head. She's on live broadcasting. And the alert goes, seizures are, alert seizure or something like that. And she's in the hospital live broadcasting. Well, she's having a full-blown out seizure. Like, there was nothing we can do about it. And it was so scary. But, like, she's in the hospital with nurses, too.
Right. Yeah.
And even when somebody's in the hospital with nurses, like, it's still super freaking scary.
Yeah. So your dog alerts for when you're having a seizure. Does your dog also alert when your son is going to have a seizure?
No, because my son is my dog is extremely close to me, and he doesn't lay next to him too. He lays right by my side. So, I mean, I think that he would, but he doesn't, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because he's just connected to me. But which makes no sense, because you'd think if there was any epilepsy, sense of any kind, because he does it with my mother. Like, my mother has dementia, and she's really, really bad. Like, she falls all over the place, and my mom will go in the house, and my dog will pace back and forth until somebody goes, and my mom will be on the floor. So I don't know if his is a strong enough scent to pick up, maybe. I'm not sure. Maybe it's because he's younger than me and he's not an adult. Because my mom doesn't have epilepsy. She has dementia, but she also has other addiction issues. So she ends up falling all over the place. But when my mom seems like she's about to fall and she's going to get hurt, my dog goes absolutely batshit crazy. And he will pace back and forth until somebody goes to check on her, and usually by that point, she's already on the floor.
Okay. Someone in the chat asked the question, if anyone wears a medical bracelet. I don't wear a bracelet anymore. I wear a necklace now. The bracelet got in my way and stuff, and it just annoyed me, so I wear a necklace.
Yeah, I don't wear a necklace, unfortunately, and my son doesn't because he has sensory issues. That was the first thing we tried, was a necklace, and he ripped it off, and then we tried bracelets, and he ripped that off too. That had an ID bracelet. Go inside, grab it, and come back in, okay? And he ripped it off. I tried putting an ID bracelet on him. The only thing that worked that I sent him to school with is an ID tag, that has his name, and it has instructions on what to do when he has a seizure. It has a Batman tag on it, like a luggage tag, and it says,
Okay.
I have epilepsy, and it has his name engraved in it, and it's attached to his backpack, and it says, this is what to do in an emergency.
Yeah. Morgan, I don't know. Morgan, do you wear a bracelet or anything? No.
Is that something on your chest?
No.
Can't hear you. What's that on her chest? Is that an alert, a heart alert?
That's a mic. I think it's a microphone.
Oh.
Can you hear it now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right, good. No, it's a Rode mic.
Yeah,
right, no.
I thought it was a heart alert.
No, I do not wear any type of
Okay.
bracelet, but I do like that necklace. That's something I could get
Yeah.
with.
It's pretty cool. And then it's like, it's hard. You can't
Yeah.
get it off.
Yeah, that's something that I could probably wear.
So, and then the clasp on the back of it is really, it's like actually a medical grade thing. And like the clasp on the back of it is actually really hard to undo. It's not just like a clip.
Oh, he didn't have to.
And so it's nice because it stays on solid.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
Yeah, I'll look into them. I think I've looked into it before, but I just
Okay.
always get distracted and I don't get one.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's got like, not gonna be able to see it past my beard, but it's got the snake thing on there for the medical, and then on the back has my all my medical info. So
okay. Yeah, because I'm
Yeah.
going on like solo travels soon. So
Okay.
I've been looking into it and I'm like, I'm not going to have like anybody with me.
yeah, I will, Youper.
Yeah. So
So,
that's probably a good idea.
and I mean that's just like something that's pretty easy to do.
buddy.
So
Sorry about that.
Right.
Yeah, he doesn't hear your sniffles. Okay.
right.
Can you hear me now?
So you said your son. It sounds like your son has a lot of
What?
I want you to open.
Okay. Can you hear me?
yeah.
Oh, okay. That's because I turned my
So-
volume down.
Okay, honestly, it sounds like your son has a lot of sensory issues. Does he have anything
does.
besides the epilepsy? Does he have like
Yeah.
autism or something as well?
He is on the spectrum. He has severe ADHD. Now it's calmed
Okay.
down a little over the course of the past 6 months, but
Okay.
starting from 2 to just the past 6 months, let me tell you, I was walking on eggshells, scared to death to go anywhere. I would not allow anybody to watch him. I had tons of people asking, hey, if you're exhausted, you want to go somewhere, do this, I'll watch him, no problem. I was like, absolutely not. The first thing I'm going to get is a call that says, I don't know where your kid is. I'm sorry, but I don't know where your kid is. But he literally had such high energy levels that even at like 9 o'clock at night, if I didn't give him like 6 melatonins, he would break a deadbolt just to go outside and try to find kids to play with. And at 11 o'clock at night, 11 or 12 o'clock at night, he showed up at my front door, and I was like 20 blocks from my parents' house. He was spending the night at my parents' house and was 20 blocks down the street pounding on my door at like midnight because he was scared. So he walked home like 20 blocks and no one woke up. No one realized that he had broken the deadbolt and walked out the front door and was walking in the street at midnight. I almost pissed my pants because I'm like, why is my child standing out front? And not only that, but like he was taking off during PE and he was leaving the property. So this is before he got under Focalin medication. I had to put him on Focalin because they wouldn't let him in the school because of liability issues unless he was put under medication. And now he has an assistant. So not only does he have severe ADHD, but he has epilepsy too. So if he would take off, like if I'd be on the phone or I'd be in the shower, like it was impossible for me to ever shower. he would literally find the opportunity for me to be in the shower for 2 minutes and take off and be 5 or 6 blocks down the street. Even when I'd ask his sister to watch him, she would close the door as soon as I got in the shower, and he'd be gone. And I'd come out of the shower, and literally, I would probably have the cops at my house probably 2 or 3, maybe 4 times a day. I was paranoid someone was going to call CPS on me.
That's great.
It was the most scariest thing in my life.
So, I mean, as far as like doctor visits for yourself and doctor visits for your son, what is the difference like mentally, emotionally, as far as that goes?
Let's put it
just
this
talk
way.
to that
I
a
see
little bit.
I see a therapist 6 times a day, even on Saturdays.
I'm guessing 6 times a week, but you know.
And that's what I meant. 6 times a week, and not 6 times a day, if that's
yeah.
what I said.
Yeah, JP, it does sound like Katrina. There's another girl on here who's got a son that's has similar issues.
Yeah.
Yep, Katrina. Yeah. And similar, very similar. And just it's a lot to manage. So,
Oh, it is. But the messed up part about it is that his dad's not involved. We tried at one point, and every time he would go to his dad's, I'd be like, you need to hold his hand or put like a leash on him or something, because if you're talking to your daughters and you're distracted with conversation with your daughter, he'll take off. Like, and you'll be like, where is he? Like, I'm always paranoid someone's going to snatch up my kid, because my son would find it funny to take off, and it's a game to him at that point. And then his dad was like, I don't know what you're talking about, Jen. He listens to me perfectly fine. I'm like, you see him 2 days a month, if that. So don't try to make me seem to be the crazy one. And, and then one time he was like, oh, I see what you're talking about now. I had to chase him all the way down the street because he was chasing something. He was chasing a kid that was trying to leave or something, and he was playing with him, so he didn't want him to leave, so he started chasing him and chasing the car. I'm like, are you, really? I'm like, now you see it? So for the longest time, he tried making me feel like I was delusional, and I was like, I can't deal with this. So like I did all the doctor's appointments, everything by myself, everything in the hospital to get him diagnosed, and his dad wasn't involved in any of it. And it was the most heartbreak. Like, I don't know how somebody can just sit back after knowing their child has epilepsy at any point in time, can have one, and sit back and not be freaking out. Like, I can't comprehend how somebody is that, I guess, that much of a devil, that you're carefree, that you don't care that your child is in and out of the hospital, when there's such thing as somebody that could have a seizure and never wake up. They could die in the middle of a seizure. Just lack of oxygen and just die. They could be brain dead from lack of oxygen. And whether he doesn't know the severity of it or he just doesn't care, I don't know. But he's definitely one of those Facebook dads that's like, I love my child. I can't wait to see him. And then he'll sit there and he'll choose a Las Vegas trip that's last minute when he's supposed to have a weekend to himself with his son. But he goes, I can't see him this weekend, when he would only see him 2 days a month. I'm like, are you kidding me?
I deal with the same thing. It's the same thing.
Like,
I just gave up on it. I did
the same thing after
I just
trying.
gave up.
Dude, it was so sad for 7 months. Oh, so this is the best part. So he denied my son for 2 years and was playing the dad role to somebody else's kid.
Oh, yeah.
Denying his own child.
I've had that too.
Yep. So, and I would tell him, he's like, oh, we're civil, everything's good between us. I said, no, I'm biting my tongue. This is not us getting along. This is me being civil.
Mm-hmm. So
you could have a fighting chance and I don't want to be called a bad person for my own son. I don't want my son hating me because, I take him away or anything. But then, and then for 7 months while he was with him, he literally still doesn't know his favorite color, still doesn't know his shoe size, still doesn't know his clothes size. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? 7 months, even seeing your child 2 days a month, you still don't know any of that. You are pathetic.
No, yeah, it's just like an extension of their self, I feel like, but I was like, it causes me too much stress, and I wish the best for however it turns out.
Well,
you know?
That's exactly what I told him. I said, I have to cut off ties. I'm sorry, but you cannot be an inconsistent father. Not only that, but having no emotions when your child is in and out of the house. What kind of parent is that? And then to sit there and turn it all around and play a dad role to somebody else and deny your own child. Like, I'm sorry. And I told him, I'm like, I genuinely hate you. He's like, how can you hate me? I said, how can you be raising somebody else's children and not be involved in your own child's life? Can you answer that? He's like, well, I can't change anything. I said, well, you know what? I can't change how I feel about you either. You made your own bed. Like, there's no fixing that. You know, and then recently my son wanted to talk to his dad, and so I, gave him the phone to make a phone call, and his mother answered. My son's grandma answered, and she's like, oh, well, if you want to come over, no problem. So I gave him the opportunity because that's what my son wanted, and she's like, oh, I'll call you back as soon as I get home. I'm getting my hair cut. Never called. My son was bawling his eyes out crying.
I know, yeah.
Because she never freaking called back. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that I don't understand.
It hurts so bad. And I'm like, this is why I don't even give any of them the time of day. Because all they do is disappoint him.
The broken promises. Yeah.
Yes, okay. Hold on. And he's so consistent, and then obviously his mother's doing the same thing, so the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Hold on, buddy.
Well, and let's see, you said tolerated and trusted are two different things. Absolutely. That's right nail on the head. Hammer, whatever that saying is.
Never trusted him or his mom.
I'm slightly sick right now. I am pulling through at this moment. But so you're a single mother, and I loved hearing you were an esthetician because, well, first of all, I love all things esthetician, but I think about if I had to do anything with a needle, that would be one of my biggest fears. Because I would love to do that job, but I would just be like, so when you said that, confirm that fear, I was like, yep, that's exactly how I would feel.
Well, I mean, you still can be an esthetician without doing dermaplaning. It's just you're not going to be fulfilling the entire steps you're supposed to. You're supposed to try to clear all the pores, and you're supposed to exfoliate so that when someone uses a moisturizer, it actually penetrates into the dermis, and you want to get the full effect of a facial that you're giving somebody. And if you can't use a dermaplaning products, or you can't use certain things, then you're not doing your fullest to your treatment. I mean, there's that option, but it doesn't necessarily mean you can't be an esthetician. You can always, alter it however you want to do your treatment.
It's fine. I'll be a yoga teacher. I'm okay. I love that you are, though.
That's true.
I love that you are, because I love the estheticians in this world. And you've been seizure free, for 10 years, you said, right?
Yeah.
So that's awesome. That's so amazing. And did you say you do the keto diet, right?
I do the keto diet, and I think that's been a big part of it as well. I mean, I've fluctuated because of my cortisol levels due to stress every now and then, but I think that's the only thing. That's because I eat pretty clean. I think that's the only reason, and the lack of exercise. Sometimes I just have no energy, so sometimes when that happens, my cortisol levels kick in, and obviously that women time of the year, I get a little belly every now and then, so
yeah, and so
it's hard to lose weight. You gain it
just a little bit. It's like,
Depression doesn't make it any easier either.
no, it doesn't. The female body and anatomy is not as easy as the male, and I will stand on all 10 toes with that one. So
We go through like 500 milestones in life.
I'm not gonna.
and if a
I'm just,
man-
I'm out.
it will always, each decade it gets harder, I swear. It will always pivot.
It does. And it seems like men can't understand. They're like, well, why are you so bitter? Why are you so this? Why are you so hormonal? Well, let's see you go
Exactly.
through like 10 different milestones of freaking changes of, of your body, and then you see how you feel.
You just figured it out. Like, you just got one stage of life figured out for it to just
Exactly.
be
You just go through
completely freaking
puberty.
different.
Yeah, they just go through puberty and then, just shoot blanks and that's it. We shoot out 8-pound babies, 9-pound babies.
That's so true. That's so true. Well, I heard the keto diet is really good for all of that. But I just went to a functional neurologist because I'm so sick of mine. And so I paid a ton of money for that. And please, okay, that's great. Thank you. Patience.
Patience is a virtue.
We are so thin on it in this house. Still learning
My
it.
daughter thinks that I'm mean because every time I ask her the same shit over and over again, most of the time she doesn't do anything because of her phone, and I end up fucking yelling at her. And she's like, "You're always yelling at me." I said, "Well, you're always on your fucking phone, and because of that, you don't get shit done. So yeah, I'm always fucking yelling at you."
How old is she? How old is she?
She's 15 and a half going on 20, thinking everything I tell her, she's like, how does it affect you, Mom? How does it affect you? I'm like, you manipulating little piece of shit. Shut up.
So my 11-year-old and me, the only thing we fight over is technology, and he swears I'm the meanest person. He told me the other day, he was like, even Dad when he drinks is nicer than you. And I'm just,
Oh my God, that sounds so familiar.
I know, I'm like,
My daughter does that too. She goes, Mom, Dad doesn't care if I have my phone all day long. I said, Dad's never there.
it's just like, I don't understand how I do all these things. Like, I try my hardest, but still, if I come, and when it comes to technology, it is not like, it's a struggle. It's a real struggle.
Oh, you want to hear something funny? So my daughter yesterday goes, she goes, Mom, so I said, so why are you trying to manipulate me? She goes, it works almost all the time, Mom. And I'm like, wow. She's like, well, I hate you when I don't have my phone, but we're besties other than that. I said, yeah, okay. So the worst part about it was yesterday. So she has a therapist. We all see a fucking therapist because we all have issues. We're all fucking mental. But so we see the therapist, and she sat there and she told the therapist, she's like, yeah, sometimes I just wish that I wasn't here anymore. And he told me, and I'm like, yeah, she says that shit all the time. It's a manipulation tactic. And it doesn't work on me because she only does that when she doesn't get her fucking way. And she never says it outside of that, ever. She's as happy as a clam other than that when she gets her phone. But when she doesn't, I'm the meanest person in the world, and I wish I wasn't here. I'm like, dude, that's so old. So he's like, well, you have to tell her then. Next time she says something like that, try to manipulate you, call David Lawrence on her, see how well that works.
That's what my therapist told me too. Like, because I was like so concerned when I first heard that. When it was, I was like, oh my gosh, because I've experienced that. Like, I've literally been there. I was like,
she blamed me for her mental health is what my daughter told me. She's like, you're the reason my mental health is declining and why I don't want to be here anymore. I'm like, yeah, good manipulation tactic.
But I think it's always like, isn't that like, I blame my mom and my dad for everything, I think, for a good amount of time.
And then she uses her dad and says, I'm going to go hang out with Dad this weekend. I said, go for it. You're not going to have your phone and try to go behind my back, because she'll do that. She'll be like, well, Dad doesn't care if I have my phone all the time. I said, I'm the one that's going to take your phone. You can go to your dad's, but you can have your watch, and that's it. Ooh, excuse me. I just was drinking a whole bunch of soda.
Yeah, I think I think about it all the time, because it's like you don't want to mess them up so bad, but their happiness does rely on their self. Like, it's teaching them how to be happy their self, and I don't think we were taught that. Like, I wasn't taught like, oh, you need to figure out how to make yourself happy. it was making my parents happy. You know, like everything, you know, go to college, do this, be this, was all to make them happy and the extension of what they wanted. And so now knowing like you've got to learn how to make your happy how to make yourself happy, how to regulate your emotions. Just because you don't like what I'm doing, that's great. I understand that. I don't like a lot of shit, but I'm still in charge of making myself happy. And so
Exactly.
I
think back
the
in the
technology
day,
is what messes with
that's
that.
what I
Like,
was gonna say. Exactly. I think we
Yeah.
blamed it on our parents at one point. We wanted to make our parents happy. Now the kids are only doing it so they can be happy with their technology in front of
Yeah.
their face. So if they can't get it, they're gonna do whatever to make whoever happy so they can have that technology. It's to appease and be happy with that feeling of having technology. And
it's the dopamine. It's the dopamine rewarding, like, so, like, being an addict, like, because I'm an well, technically an addict forever, but the dopamine, like, I know it. I have to, like, check with myself. I can see it. It's instant rewarding over and over. So I know, like, what is happening and trying not to get mad, but it is so frustrating because things are being taken out on you. And so I go through the same thing. I'm just like, I'm going to throw this fucking computer out the window. Like, I will throw it out the window. And then I'm like, that's not how we need to handle it. Like,
yeah, because where are children's advocates? We have to control and balance our issues and our mental health.
Right.
And if we can't balance that, how are we going to expect them to do it? Well, Mom,
Exactly.
you're mentally incapable. Why should I copy you?
Exactly. So, but it's a learning, you know, you're doing the right things. You're going to therapy. You have awareness. You're counteracting, undoing all the things that you learned growing up. And that's a whole lot, you know, battling epilepsy as well. So that's amazing. Going to therapy 6 days a week compared to my like occasional month.
Well, it's also covered by my insurance. So that's another thing I was going to say. That's another thing I was going to say. You're talking about paying money out the butt for your neurology. Well, I don't know where you are. I don't know which state you're in, but every single state has, dependent on your financial status. Like for me, I get to see a neurologist once a year, and my medication and my doctor's appointment is completely covered by
It's different because it's not a neurologist; it's a functional neurologist.
It's a functional, yeah. So I have the same with my base, like what insurance pays for a neurologist that is just keeping you baseline sick, right? Like they're just keeping you sick. They're not giving you the plant, the how to cure, I would say, right? That like how can we make you at your optimal health? Functional doctors don't go, they're not paid by the insurance, like they don't even take insurance. They treat the whole body, like, so they tested all my systems, like my ocular system, my just how the brain responds to everything. So basically I have long-term brain damage from chronic seizures, and most of us do that, we just don't know. But there are tests and ways to go about like kind of strengthening our brain. So I have vestibular damage, ocular damage, like all of this crazy stuff. And it just fucking sucks. Like it sucks to have seen, like, I think I'm amazing.
Like throwing that in your face. My ex, we got in a large fight. He's never said anything negative before, but the one time we got in a fight, he was like, it's not your fault. Your brain's just fucked up. You were born that way.
God, I would have punched him. I would have punched him. I have anger issues when it comes to men saying things to me like that. Promise you, I ended up in jail one time. I would have punched him.
He was drunk off his ass. He probably wouldn't have felt it if I punched him in the balls at that point.
Oh my gosh. No, but the brain is so resilient. Like, yeah, I mean, look, all three of us are proof of that, of how resilient it is. Yeah, it's crazy, but it's also so resilient. Like,
I would have brained him. What? It's not your fault. Your brain's fucked up.
And it's stuff like that, you know, like doesn't help. I've had things like that said to me, not in that same context, but when you're already struggling because you already have those identities, right? Like, you know, you have thoughts maybe like, if my brain wasn't like this, would my life be different?
Brambles. If our brains weren't fucking brambles. Bramble dead.
And so when somebody kind of validates that, like that limiting belief you already have, kind of, is just another sharp dig, especially if somebody you care about, right? That has some type of connection. Yeah, I've been there, believe me. And it makes you not want to tell people anything. Like, that's one thing. It makes you cut off people, trust, all the things.
Yeah,
so
well,
I get
I feel so bad because he just did it to his wife apparently a couple months ago. My daughter called about all the bullshit. I guess she overheard him talking, and he yelled at her and said, you know what, you're fucking, go pop some more fucking pills. You're already fucked up enough, because she got in a massive car accident and they got in a fight and he busted, I guess, his hand through the wall and made a comment drunk and said, go pop some more fucking pills while you're at it. You're already fucked up. And I'm like, all right, good. I don't feel so bad that he said that shit to her too.
Yeah, that's awful. Yeah, he doesn't need to be with anybody.
No, it just makes me feel better.
He needs 6 days of therapy, I think, more than you do. No,
Therapy 6 times a day.
6 times a
6
day.
times
There
a
you
day,
go.
yeah.
6 times.
Needs a padded
I
room.
can't believe I said 6 times. I really thought I was thinking 6 days.
Hey, no, some people do, though. They have their therapist on call, be like, please help me right now before I commit a crime. It's so true.
I used to do that. My therapist was like, you can call me, you can text me whenever you want. And I would shoot him a text and be like, hey, I'm about to send this text messages. What do you think about this? And he would text me back.
I know. I'm saying, like, it's actually
awesome.
a normal thing. You don't have to be in like the session for an hour. You can just be like, please help me handle this, because I don't know how.
Yeah.
Well, I think most therapists are pretty flexible, seeing as that's kind of their responsibility if we're going to commit suicide, is kind of be advocate for us.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I think they're liable if something happens and you try to reach out to a therapist and they do not respond in a certain period of time, and then you commit suicide or something. I think.
Oh, wow.
I think they're like liable or something.
If you're on suicide watch and stuff?
Yeah. I think they're liable if like you ignore them or something. I don't know how that works as far as a therapist, but I think that that's kind of the case.
I believe when you're in like a service, from like, speaking of a coach and a yoga teacher, like when you know somebody is struggling, like that's why I couldn't imagine being a therapist to so many people or coaching so many people, because when you know that people are struggling, it would be hard to ignore. Like, it would be hard not to be there, for me at least.
Well, to me, it would kind of seem just as bad as, you know, all those dogs that are in the shelter that you know euthanasia with, and you want to take them all fucking home, but you're like, I got to do the best that I can. That's all I can do. Like, I can't take on and fix fucking everybody. I just have.
That's why they have a file cabinet. You close that file up, you put it in the cabinet at the end of the day, and you're done with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I guess I'm a guy, so it's different.
I think
Just close that file. Done.
I
do the same thing. I do the same thing with work. I close up that file. Done. At the end of the day, I'm done with work.
So when we talk about this, it reminds me of Sixth Sense, where he ends up fucking coming after the therapist and kills him, and he doesn't even know he's dead.
Oh my gosh, I hate that movie. That is the worst movie. That gave me like trauma at such a young age.
I know, we've seen so much crap, and I just watched Halloween for the first time in God knows how long, and I'm like, oh my God.
I couldn't walk through hallways without like visualizing dead people hanging from the ceiling.
Oh
I
my
was
God.
like
There's hammer.
petrified.
I love this comment right here. Uber says, I genuinely enjoyed every second of this. I went through peaks and valleys with you three. Thanks for real. And yeah, for real. I mean, this has been awesome just talking. I wanted to ask you like a couple more things, Jen, before we're done. So, because you said that like stress really triggers it for you. with the seizures. What do you do, like personally, besides having therapy 6 times a day? What do you do personally to try and manage your stress, to try and keep that down?
Kind of putting everything, it's really hard because there's always stuff that needs to be done, but I will literally shut everything off and like put my kids, send them to my parents' house or something, because my kids are at an age now where I can kind of decompress. So for the past 5 years, I've been on edge. So now I literally take one day to myself and I will sleep all day. I will shut off my phone, not look at any, because the phones are the worst things possible for people with epilepsy in general. But I will literally make sure my body gets.
As we all stare at our phones.
I know. I get at least 12 hours of sleep completely and sleep. Make sure that I sleep through. That way, I know that my body at least is not exhausted. So even if I'm on high alert for 6 days, at least I have that at least 12 hours. You know, so sleeping is a huge thing. Make sure you have enough sleep. And for me, I usually, like, when I feel an aura, if I'm driving, I will always have backup medications. Even if I'm not supposed to pop them, I will pop them like fucking Skittles. I am not fucking losing my license, I can tell you that. I do not want to have another seizure because I have stairs in my house now. So if I have a seizure and I fall down a flight of stairs, I am breaking my freaking neck. Like in, what's that movie where they're dead? Those dead girls that never die. They take a special potion and they never freaking die, and they break their necks and they're still alive. Do you remember?
I have no clue.
No, with no.
Do you like horror movies?
Sometimes.
Like getting the vibe that you like horror movies. I'm more of like a romantic comedy.
Halloween around the corner. You gotta love horror shows around the corner from.
I'm like a Disney horror. Like that's my Halloween.
Oh, the Nightmare Before Christmas type of Disney films.
Yeah, like Hocus Pocus, the classics. You know.
Halloween Town.
I don't like it too scary. I like it cute scary. Like
not too scary that you're gonna piss your pants.
Yeah, like I like it cute scary, or it's like nostalgia, but no, we're not girls tripping in the woods and I can't sleep at night.
Yeah, I anticipate the worst, so nothing ever.
Into spider webs.
Yes, no. Like Harry Potter to me is a Halloween movie and a Christmas movie.
I've never seen that movie before.
Oh my gosh, it's the best. Harry Potter is the best. I love it. Yeah. Carter, my son doesn't like
Wait,
it.
Did you just say Carter is your son's name?
Yeah.
That's your son's name.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, that's
Such
fun.
a great
That's
name.
fun.
You didn't hear me say his name in the backseat of my car to stop.
I didn't. No.
Yeah.
Well, mine is like typing away on the computer, just, clicking and clacking.
He's got to be older.
And how old is your son?
My son is 7.5. He'll be 8 next month.
I love it. That was such a great age. Now we're in preteens.
Oh gosh, yeah. It's wait till they're at least teens, then they literally want nothing to do with you. At least in between preteen stage, I got kind of a little bit of time. Here and there, it was like, okay, I want to hang out with you. Now go away. Like it was back and forth. Yeah.
That's a great example. That's a great example.
Yeah, one day they want to be with you and then they want some time with mom, but the next day, oh, there's my friends. Go the hell away from me, mom.
Right. Don't embarrass me. Don't embarrass me. Please don't embarrass me.
But yeah, no, I mean, so driving wise, I get it. Some people don't get auras though. So like to be able to prevent having any seizures, it's really dependent on every different person and their job, their lifestyle, and if they're even capable of controlling their environment. Because some people cannot even control it. Like financially, they have no support system. That way they cannot figure out like a side gig in an emergency if they have a seizure. So it's really, really difficult to try to find a healthy balance to be able to try to figure out how to balance it out. I mean, realistically, everybody's lifestyle is different. But for me, I sleep through 12 to 24 hours, as much as I possibly can before the rest of the week starts. Like typically I'll do it on a Sunday. and then I'll just sleep all the way through until Monday. But I don't know. Some people can't
Can't
sleep.
sleep that much.
Yeah,
I can't sleep that much.
I wouldn't be able to. I could probably lay there for that long, but then I,
I can't
wouldn't.
lay
I
there
still
that
wouldn't
long.
be
I
able to
can't lay
sleep.
there that long.
I would be.
I would go nuts.
Well, some people have insomnia, and for me, I have to make my body sleep because if
Yeah.
I'm on edge, I'm stressed. Like that's the last thing I need is sleep exhaustion. So I force.
That's the same thing, JP. I can't imagine. I don't know what I can't like. I would
Do you
go
practice
nuts trying to
yoga at all?
lay in
there you
bed.
go.
I would go
Have
nuts.
some relaxation to be
Yeah.
able to get your body to get in a state to make yourself fall asleep. Because if your body is completely,
Oh, I can fall asleep as soon as I get in bed. I go to sleep. Like I'm out in minutes. If it's that long, like
Yeah.
I fall asleep super fast, but then I only sleep like 6-7 hours.
if you don't have, if your
Uh,
your lifestyle is not that complex, though, then it's okay not to do that. But I know myself.
it's complex.
Being complex meaning like you have a lot on your plate. Like if you're just working and you don't have your kids full time, and you know it's just every situation is different. For me, I know that if I don't take that day to myself, I never know what's going to happen. I could end up working 6 days a week and be up and be stressing money. I mean, who knows? Every situation is different. So for me, I'd rather be prepared in the event that there's some medical situation going on. And, I can't sleep in a hospital bed. So if I do have a seizure and I have to be in the hospital, I can tell you right now, I'm not going to be sleeping for days. So everybody's situation is different. I just like being prepared because I've kept not having a seizure for 10 years. So making sure that I get enough sleep is like one of the key factors. And I usually do not go out past 9 o'clock either.
Is this a part of your formula, like for this like 10 years that you've had, like the keto sleep that's 24 days or 24 hours of recovery?
Yeah.
So all right, that's awesome. It's probably like restoring your nervous system.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It's also keeping my body, I guess completely from being exhausted, because in general, it takes a lot out of us in general. Even if we don't have a seizure, if we do have a seizure, we're going to need it even more. So if we catch up with that amount of sleep, we're going to be kind of balanced out.
Right.
And if you don't have a seizure and you have a busy lifestyle, it's still helping you, preventing your brain from being overworked in general.
Yeah.
So the more relaxed your brain is, the more you're able to get things done and be more productive. Because I don't know about you, but if I have a seizure and I'm incapable for 2 days, everything is fucking falling apart in my goddamn house. Everything. I don't know about you guys, but if I'm incapable of doing anything for 2 days after having a seizure, shit's gonna hit the fan.
A seizure it causes a catastrophe.
It
Like
does.
your brain naturally catastrophizes things, but then when you have a seizure, that literally is a catastrophe and allows your brain to verify that yes, catastrophes happen.
That's what I'm saying.
It is.
Happen at any point in time. So I would
Explain.
rather
How's it
prepare
going?
my brain in advance and force myself to sleep, because let's be honest, if I go to sleep at 9 o'clock at night, chances are I'm probably going to wake up about 8:30, but I will force myself. I might be up for like an hour or two, but I'm going to force myself to go back to sleep, because in the event there's something out of my control, at least I know that my body's gotten enough sleep. That's one thing off the list.
Yeah.
Contribute to my seizure.
Right. One less stress. You know you're rested. You know you're rested.
At least I know my body's completely fully rested.
I got that. Yeah.
You can't be like, hey, well, do you think it's maybe because you're not getting enough sleep? No, absolutely not. I force my body to sleep. Sometimes,
Right.
I
Yeah,
don't.
so if you can take that one element out and say, hey, at least it's not because of the sleep. I know that. Like
Exactly.
you're at least checking that one thing off.
Yeah, that's a huge
And yeah.
part of it too. Some people haven't
And yeah,
done.
JP, it's a huge thing, and you've got a college age kid being gone at college, but yeah, being worried about your kid gone at school and other things like that. Having a kid with epilepsy, that's a huge. Even that alone is a big mental load. to deal with every day.
Well, speaking of college kids too, I really would not recommend driving anywhere past even dark. Even dark is not recommended because as a college kid, they're still going through a whole bunch of hormones and their body's still growing. I would not recommend driving at night at all. I would recommend having somebody else drive because those lights, and if you're drinking, which I don't ever drink, as young as I've been, it literally has screwed me up so bad. I've tried being drunk at one point and I had endless freaking seizures.
Yeah, I won't talk about my college days. I will not soothe anybody's fears, but I will say, hopefully, I am a different breed when it comes to that. So I don't think I'm most people. I'm not most people. So
I mean, imagine being drunk and hungover and having back-to-back seizures. And not even being blacked out from not remembering drinking. But on top of that, you wake up and you have a black and blue eye, your tongue is all jacked up, like you're all messed up from not only being drunk off your ass and making an ass out of yourself, but you've also completely screwed up your entire body physically and beat yourself up.
Yeah, it's awful. It's just well, I don't know because I was on
Richie,
so many drugs.
We're almost finishing up, so if you want to shoot me a message, then I can maybe get you on in the future. So shoot me if you want to give me a follow, shoot me a message, and I will talk to you about maybe getting you on in the future. So we're getting
love
pretty
to
close
have
to
you.
being done now. So, but yeah.
But I'm glad you made the smart, like, drinking is not a great component with epilepsy or a mix. Now, some people have, they drink casually and they don't have any problems with it. I'm just a nuisance to society. It's not really my epilepsy. It's just...
I have everybody's DD.
Just not good for me or anybody. So that is the real issue. I didn't honestly have too many problems with my epilepsy. It was a lack of sleep. Like I just had, sometimes be up for days and then I would have issues.
Well, that's what I mean by college students shouldn't drink.
Yeah.
Like, if they go out, they shouldn't be drinking and definitely shouldn't be driving at night because the lights, there's going to be flashing lights after a certain point. I think it's after 11 o'clock. All the lights in general start flashing yellow. I don't know exactly what time.
Oh, and that depends on where you live too.
Exactly. So most of them at a certain point, different times, but most of them turn to yellow flashing after a certain point in the middle of the night. I think every time is different in every state, but ultimately every place ends up flashing because there's nobody on the road.
And because I used to live in Wisconsin. I'm in Denver now. They don't ever change here. There's too much traffic here all the time. They never change.
Oh, well, I do know that happens here, and I that happened in New York quite a lot too. But that also will trigger it too. So those flashing lights, and then there's flashing lights from the train tracks where anybody has that too. So there's flashing in a lot of areas on top of being exhausted from drinking all night. So anybody that's in college, I definitely would probably not give them a license until, either that or restriction on time. Sometimes you can't really control it, but
I think there's just so much public transportation now that, there's no point in driving. Like there's Ubers and bikes and all. Well, I guess it depends on where you're going to college. But around here, I know all the colleges, like if it was me again, I wouldn't have drove at all, like at all.
Yeah, back in the day, all that's there was taxis, like 20 years ago.
And you couldn't ever get them. You couldn't ever get a taxi.
Trying
to get a taxi was impossible. All right.
Now trying to get a taxi is impossible too.
It is. Like you had to wait downtown or wait somewhere for like an hour, 2 hours sometimes. No. Yeah.
So, I mean, back in the day it was harder, but now it's more convenient to have an Uber driver, to have pretty much bus transportation. Unless you're in a very rural area, you really have absolutely no excuse.
Right, exactly. I think it's fine. And plus, even if you are like on the straight and narrow, you make great decisions, that does not mean everybody else out on the streets is.
Exactly.
That would be my thing.
Exactly. Alcohol
Yeah.
doesn't make it any better on top of all those other triggers. So that's one of my biggest fears too, is my son going to college, and with his epilepsy, if he doesn't outgrow it, I'm going to be freaking pissing my pants scared because I can't control anything. I can't do anything about it. Like, I
Right.
have to sit back and just, breathe and trust that I taught him how I adjusted to my own epilepsy to prevent him from falling down for me, for the longest time, I kept telling my parents, I don't need that fucking medicine. Get it away from me. I don't need it. I would go 2 or 3 freaking days without a seizure, and all of a sudden, full blown out seizure at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm freaking out, running in my parents' room, covered in freaking blood. And I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Sure,
like,
that wasn't terrifying for them.
Yeah.
Oh no, my mom, until she started getting declining really bad medically, which she still is, she would have her phone. I was the only person that she would respond to. If the phone rang, she knew it was me. Like, it was just, she was on high alert 24/7. Even if it was 2 o'clock in the morning, she would come over my house. And thankfully, she was only a couple of blocks away. But I can't imagine being in another state and going through as many seizures as I did, like refusing my medication and not taking anybody, not listening to the doctors, not listening to my parents. Like, I was stupid. I was so naive, and I can't believe I did that for the longest time. I started listening to everybody. It took me having kids to freaking realize that. And I was 21 when I first had my first kid. And then I was like, okay, I guess I have to take my medicine.
I got one more question before we close, and I try and ask this question kind of like every time, just to kind of end it on a positive note. What's something that you would say to someone who is just starting out on this journey? Maybe they just were diagnosed with epilepsy, to encourage them. What's something that you would tell them to encourage them?
I would, first off, I'd start with getting a journal to make, because you know what? This world is very, very scary. And a lot of people think that as they're going through a journey, they're going to reach out to the internet, specifically the internet, because they're not aware. And they think going to the internet is going to explain everything. I would recommend going through the journey of reading books on it and understanding that you're not the only person out there that has it, and grab a journal and write out everything that you experience, do as much research on it as possible, and realize that they are, reach out to some groups too. There's always groups in your local area, so you don't feel alone, but do not reach out to the internet, no matter what, when you're first starting out, until you're comfortable with yourself, because you're already feeling embarrassed that you have this to begin with. I was so self-conscious of it literally until probably the past 2 or 3 years. Once I, started experiencing it really, really bad with my son, that's when I started not feeling alone myself. And, so I really would recommend somebody doing a journal and doing your research, getting books, and realizing you're not the only person to make yourself feel better about it, because we all need to feel comfortable like we're not this freak show. And mentally, you need to be able to keep everything together, because you can go and you can decline very, very quickly into depression.
It's funny that you talk about connecting with other people, because that's something that Morgan and I have both mentioned in previous weeks, is that like connecting with other people and just realizing that you're not alone is such a huge part of stepping past the initial diagnosis. When you first find out and you're initially diagnosed, it's very isolating. But when you can step past that and you can connect with other people, it's so like almost freeing to you to be able to connect, with other people, to be able to talk with other people, and share that. You can find your community. You can build that community of people who you can talk to It's so helpful to be able to do that.
It is, but you have to also be comfortable with yourself first and reach out to like a local area, I believe. If you're just starting out now, once you've gotten comfortable enough yourself, then you can reach out to the internet. But I feel personally, the internet is so judgmental and it misleads and it gives false, myths about everything, that it misleads people that are brand new to experiencing an epilepsy journey, that you don't want them to get bullied and they're not even comfortable. They don't even understand it themselves. So if they jump onto the internet, the internet doesn't understand either. Like, there's a lot of people out there that before they find their team and they find their little, their little clique, they're going to get bullied to the point where they're so embarrassed by it, they're going to take their life. And unfortunately, like, there's so much bullying going on in these schools nowadays. That's why I never even let my daughter go on TikTok until she was, I think, like, just recently I let her have a TikTok. And she's not even, like, she doesn't put her face on it. She just does like a fan page, so she'll take clips of like some other celebrities or whatever and puts them up. But she doesn't put her face up. I won't let her put her face up because people are so bad about bullying and everything. TikTok and the internet, super bad until you can find yourself. I'd say reach out to resources that are locally around you first so you have face-to-face and you can understand your condition more and you feel comfortable with it. And then once you can accept it more, you reach out to the internet and you're kind of more aware of the condition itself to be able to open with it. You have to accept it yourself before you can really connect with other people, I guess, through the internet at least, because there's so much bullying out there.
And I guess that depends on where you go too.
This is very true. I mean,
so yeah,
if you're starting out, the internet is probably, it's a 50-50. It's a 50-50. It's like a teenager getting on. You could either get really bullied or you can get a support system. What?
Hey, medic.
Oh, medic's in here? What, Carta? Oh, I'm on.
Because I've met so many just beautiful people on the internet, and just so much. There's so much community that I've had on here with people who are going through this, that have gone through it, and it's been an amazing place for me to build community, for me to help other people, and for other people to just reach out to me for help as well, people that are in different places in their journey as well. So
you're also content with yourself and you understand it. So you're not just freshly coming out and finding your connection. You've known your epilepsy you've had it for a really long time. But people that are freshly coming out with it, you want to have a face-to-face and get comfortable with it and know enough about it before you take a chance of getting bullying. That's kind of my biggest fear when I be coming out with something that I don't really understand yet. I don't want to get bullied to the point where I'm not going to want to even be face-to-face with anybody because I'm bullied so bad because people don't understand.
I think a lot of it is we are our own biggest bully. So we view the world as bullies. And when we can stop the narrative of being the bully to ourselves, the world stops being the bully. And that stops being so profound. And that is coming from somebody who literally was terrified of people finding out she had epilepsy. I swore my friends into secrecy. They would like rot in the grave if they told a soul. And it took a long time. And I realized, I was like, the world is not evil. The world is not bullies. I am mean to myself. I am a bully to myself. The more I love myself, accept myself for all that I am, I will attract that same. And if people disagree, if they say things, that will not matter. It will always be there. No matter if you are online, no matter in person, no matter if I have a seizure in public, people will say, they will think, but at the end of the day, it is up to me if I'm the bully or if I am the person that loves myself and accepts myself. And that does take time. You are exactly right. That is not like, I just did a post on this. It's about kind of like the transformation cycle of a butterfly. You know, it starts off as an egg, a caterpillar, and it's in this chrysalis or whatever, and that just takes time, and it's just awareness. So, but I do believe most of it is we are our own bullies. However, we learn that. That
I
is
totally
my
agree that now everything takes time. It's
yeah.
but you have to try it out from the get-go.
Well, guys, I'm gonna hop off here.
Yeah.
I have got to get some rest. It has been so wonderful talking with both of you. I really appreciate y'all sharing everything with me.
It has. This has been awesome. So I appreciate you guys both being here, and we will maybe do this again sometime. So.